I don't think anybody's forgotten Pastor Helm. Hoag, I feel him here in this room. This is a warm, wonderful place, and I know that his spirit is here. He was so thoughtful and called just a few minutes ago when we arrived because he felt bad that he wasn't here, but I feel he's here with you. It's one of the things that I was impressed the most with when you came to visit the school, of his great leadership. I think this is a man who I really believe he's, as I say, a bridge builder, not only between the divine and the human, but between people. He's brought love to our school. He brought you to our school, brought the value of brotherhood and love of each other. And, without a compass, even a good ship isn't of much use. And he's your compass. Gives you direction. And he's here tonight, too. I feel him here, too. I really thank God for this opportunity to bring me to your beautiful city, to bring me here in peace, and to share such a wonderful evening together with you. I feel very close to the people of Scott Depot, so do our children. I want to tell you from my end of the story, when I heard from Paul Miller that he was bringing a few tourists to the school, and I said, fine, and 300 people showed up. We were overwhelmed. Those of you who made that first trip, we were quickly putting children back into the classroom so that there would be room in the hallway for the wonderful 300 people who came and filled our hallways with such beautiful music. And with such love, also brought songs in Hebrew for the children to hear. There was a story that I told Oliver in Jerusalem this time, that when the first group of 300 came and the children, after they heard the singing, ran up to get autographs and to exchange addresses. They wanted some addresses to write pen pal letters. And I told them there were two little girls who came into the office after the group had left, very sad and upset that they had lost their little piece of paper with the address, and asked if I could please find their person. So I asked the two girls, about 9 or 10 years old, to describe. Well, he was a tall man. Anything else? No, he was just very tall. I said, well, that's not going to help much, but when I speak to the group back at the hotel, I'll ask if anybody else remembers you. But if you think of something else, come back and tell me. And in 15 minutes, they came back and said, oh, yes, he was black. I thought, my goodness, they never saw his color before. That wasn't a quality that they thought of to distinguish. And it was a beautiful, beautiful experience for me to see and to have them feel. Our school, when you hear a mother hears that her child is about 10 years old, she says, no, he's 9.5. Well, I've got to tell you, the school is grades 1 through 6 with 450 children, and our junior high and high school has another 300 children. That goes up right now to the 10th grade, and each year will go up until it's to the 12th grade. Our school started, rightfully so, in bunkers 10 years ago with only 34 children. And in the 10 years, we've reached now over 750 children. The idea of the school was not mine alone. It was parents who felt they wanted to give their children not only an education of secular knowledge, but they wanted to give them religious values. Now in Israel, the school system is divided into 2 tracts. One is a religious, and that is for those religious practicing families. Unfortunately, there's only about 20% of the school population that goes to those schools. The other percentage goes to the secular schools, in other words, gets no religious education, no value teaching. And these parents who, together with me, helped build the school said, we want our children, no matter what our religious practices are, we want them to have a value-oriented education. We want them to know, we want them to understand, and we want to be involved with our children's education. That was basically the idea. And from 34, we grew quickly. And what amazed the Ministry of Education was that not only was there value teaching, but for the last 9 years, our school has been number 1 in academic achievement, which means that when parents are involved and when there's value teaching, academics doesn't suffer but benefits from this involvement. And it's been very gratifying now to see other schools in Jerusalem wanting to copy the program and copy the curriculum, to know that this is this has been of such importance. Unfortunately, there's still a lot of struggling there are a lot of people who believe that this value teaching or religious education is not necessary, and that it only gets in the way of academics. And so there's still a lot of education to do. But with the value teaching and with the parents involved, there's so much gratification in knowing that our children have a grasp of a better way of life, of a higher ideal, of being more involved with the community, more involved with each other, with their fellow man. And this has been our challenge and as I say, our gratification. One of the stories one of the vignettes of life, there's so many things that go on. We have soldiers who come to visit our school to hear about our educational approach. And I was a month ago with a group who had come, young boys, 18 years old, and we invited different parents to come to speak of why they were committed to this kind of education, why parents should be together, involved with the school as to what their children are learning and what kind of values, to be an example for their children. And one of the parents was speaking to the boys about it, and afterwards he started to reminisce about his army days in Israel. And he started to tell them the story of his first assignment in the army as a young soldier. His assignment was to evacuate a Jewish community in Syria, to save them, to get them out of where they were being terrorized. And in the dark of night, they were to take this group of Jews who were living in the community out into trucks and get them over the border. The trucks were due to leave at 7, and they had everybody rounded up, except there was one woman who was due to give birth, and she gave birth at 6:30 p.m. Well, they managed to get her on the truck, but not the baby. And he was telling that when they got out and they got over the border, this mother would not leave him alone. She had to have her baby. And he was telling the story, and all of us were very moved. And his plan was to sneak back into the village, take the baby, wrap him up as a bundle, get him on a train, throw him from a train to somebody waiting on the countryside. And this was his assignment. He volunteered for it, and he did it. And one of the soldiers was crying so hard, and we turned to him and said, "We're all moved. Why are you crying so hard?" He said, "I was that baby." The way that we touch each other's lives and the way that your good friendship has touched our lives is beautiful. Debbie, I've come to love. She's been in our home. My children love her. We had the good fortune of traveling home with her. Each and every person that we meet and that we establish a relationship with, we're very, very grateful for. We're very touched by. It's not easy. Life in Israel, those of you who visited know, is not just, we can't just worry about educational problems. Unfortunately, we're living in a time and in a place that it's very difficult. And we have to remember our humanity, remember our values in terms of facing the tensions of what exists. For instance, I can be in a classroom teaching about the lessons of the Bible, and I know that in my handbag I've got a gun, and I have to know how to use that gun. And on one hand, I'm living in one foot on one side and one foot trying to teach the children a higher value, that there is meaning and purpose to life. Where all around them they see attempts at making life meaningless. And again, that's why your friendship is so appreciated and so important. When we had the terrible problems with Ras Burqa and the people who were killed, for some reason your leadership were inspired at that time to come to visit, came to the school. Our morale was so low. We lost a lot of dear people who were killed then. A little girl lost her mother. We had 4 little children who were killed. It was a very hard thing to try to explain to children how other people would want to kill. And then you came and they saw another side of humanity. They saw people who came and who were friendly and who wanted to be with them, who sang to them. It's just beautiful. It's beautiful that there are people like you and that you're getting the guidance and this man who's helping you build walls of understanding and shedding light so that we can see each other and appreciate each other. I know that we at the Frankel School are very, very appreciative, and we hope that we'll always be friends and that we'll visit each other. You're all welcome, even if there's 300. We welcome you anytime to come visit the school. I was telling when I was much younger, I was living in California. I was much younger, much thinner, and I was involved with movie making. Actually, I was doing two things at one time. I was in education and doing a little bit of filmmaking on the side. I have 4 brothers, and 2 of them are actors, and that was a strain running in our family, I believe. Anyway, it got to be where the filmmaking, I had to make a decision between the 2 roads, education or filmmaking, and the filmmaking seemed to require more and more of a compromise in terms of values as a human being, as respect for human beings. And I was telling a story that not too many people know. I'm kind of embarrassed to tell you. But I was up for a movie, and it required, first of all, desecrating the Sabbath. I observed the Sabbath, and making the movie would have desecrated that, and compromising other values. And so at the last minute, after getting the script and having it prepared, supposedly, especially for me as a showcase, I told the producer I could not do it for all these reasons. And he said, I'll show you. I'm going to get somebody who's the opposite of you. You're dark. I'm going to get a blonde, and she's going to be a star, and you're going to regret it the rest of your life. Well, he did the movie. It was with Anthony Quinn, and that was Faye Dunaway that he took and made a star. But I feel I'm a star in the choice that I chose with education and with working with young people. I think that's the promise of our future. I think that's where it's at. That's where it's important. And I'm very grateful for the choice that I made, and I've never regretted it, not 1 minute.